So we'll start optics today and we'll try to cover it in the next 2 weeks or so. And you should continue doing the mechanics portion, right? You should continue with the mechanics portion as well because 11th revision is also essential. So if not, abandon that. If you have done rotation just now, then you should continue doing questions of rotation and going ahead in those chapters. And then we can, one of these classes, we can also do the mechanics part we'll continue with our mechanics part also. But for now, we'll start with the 12th standard syllabus, which is the first chapter is geometrical optics. Okay. You have some test coming up here, right?
Yeah, on time.
So far, what has been done in class in geometrical optics? Where have you reached?
We started the lens makers part.
Okay. Okay. Fine. So we'll start off at the beginning. Uh, the subject of optics or ray optics here is based on the idea that based on the assumption that light travels in a straight line. Light travels in a straight line. Like if you don't have this assumption, then you cannot do geometrical optics, right? Because geometrical optics will assume that a ray of light will travel straight and then it will turn and stuff like that will happen, right? If it is not a ray of light, then it will be a wave, and a wave will have very different properties as opposed to a ray of light which doesn't deviate, right? So this whole subject is based on the assumption that light travels in a straight line, which was the old Newtonian assumption. This is Newton's assumption. So he thought that light was a set of tiny particles which travels in a straight line. Later, in another chapter, what we will do is we will question this assumption and we'll come to Thomas Young's double slit experiment. Double slit experiment, where what we'll realize is that light always also behaves like a wave. Light is a wave and not a particle. So light is slightly weird in the sense that it behaves as a particle sometimes and it behaves like a wave sometimes. But actually, like, the problem is that light behaves as light, and our English language is not sufficient to describe it effectively. Like, particle or wave is not a real question. Like, particle or wave is not a real question because uh, this is just a description of light using our English language terms of particle and wave. Light behaves as a complicated thing which sometimes shows properties of this and sometimes shows properties of this. Okay. So
Okay.
nature does not owe it to us to make it easy for us and it should only behave as a particle. It behaves as it is, and we are trying to understand it and fit it into our framework of understanding. As we think of particles as easy to understand, so we assume that maybe it behaves as a particle, or we think of wave as something else. So we are trying to pin it down to either one of them, but it is not likely to happen. Like, light behaves as something far more complicated than both of these words. Okay. So eventually, when you do, if you do higher level studies a little bit more, then what you will realize is light is has quantum mechanical properties, and the way that it can be described is using quantum mechanics. There is a equation that will describe light, and that equation gives both these outcomes, like in the sense that it will exhibit properties sometimes that are particle like and sometimes that are wave like. But you don't have to get into this confusion what it exactly is. It is exactly more complicated than either the word particle or the word wave suggests. Okay. So this was Newton in 1660s. This was Thomas Young in 1801. Then there was Einstein in 1905, who proposed that light will behave like a set of photons or tiny particles. So we have come full circle. Einstein came back to the particle assumption, and eventually in the 1900s, we figured out what light really is. But this is not the subject of the chapter. The chapter is going to focus on this. Light is behaving like a set of particles. So set of particles will be traveling in a straight line. Okay. Particles will travel in a straight line at a high speed. That is light. Okay. For geometrical optics, we'll focus on this. For wave optics, we'll do this. When light will behave like a wave. Okay. So for now, we'll just begin with this. Okay. So the first thing that we want to look at is reflection. Reflection of light, which is a very common phenomena, and you've also studied that in lower classes, right? Reflection of light. So what are the laws of reflection? You probably already know.
Angle of incidence equals angle of reflection, and the normal and the incident ray and the reflected ray all lie in the
All lie in the same plane. So this is incident ray, and this is the reflected ray. And this perpendicular to the surface is called the normal, right?
yeah,
So angle of incidence is which angle? It's this angle, I.
yeah,
And angle of reflection is this angle, R. So basically, angle of incidence is the angle between the normal and the incident ray, and angle of reflection is the angle between reflected ray and normal. Now the first law is obvious. First law is I is equal to R, and the second law says that all three rays lie in the same plane.
right.
What is the meaning of that? All three lie in the same plane. Do you understand that? What that means?
Yeah,
It's
it's
like,
kind of like,
huh,
like if they're all like taken to be like in uh but they're all coplanar. So like if they're all like taken to be like in one plane, it just can't be like an
yeah.
incident like in
It
this plane.
cannot go out of that plane, right? So
Yeah,
if the light ray is coming like this, suppose this was some y, and suppose this direction was xy plane, suppose, and z is this side, right?
yeah,
So then if in xy plane light ray had come, it will stay in the xy plane. Okay, it will not have some z component now. Okay.
yeah,
So if you think of a thin sheet, which of paper or something, which is going to describe that plane, right? So light will remain in that sheet only. It will not come out of that sheet. Okay, that is the meaning of being in the same plane, right? Now, here we want to make it a little more precise, mathematically precise, this law of reflection. So we want to write a vector version of this law. Okay, vector version of this law. So can you write down the I vector, a vector, a unit vector along the direction of the incident ray? Suppose this is a incident ray direction, right? So can we write down a unit vector in this direction? So let's say I want to write all the vector versions of this law. So this is normal vector, and this is the reflected vector, right? So, and this angle is theta, and this angle is theta. So if you produce it a little, this angle will become theta, right? So
yeah,
I want to write properly the vector versions of these laws. So this is your I vector. This is vector I vector going down like this. So
yeah.
unit vector for I can be written as what? Can you guess? Like suppose we use I, normal I cap and j cap and all, right?
Mm,
So basically you're using normal x, y, z notation, right? This is the
yeah,
normal vector notation, right?
yeah,
So unit vector means length of one unit length line in this direction. How will we represent, right? It in ijk notation, right?
mm.
So so can you guess what it will be? Unit vector for a incident ray. Suppose a 1 unit length you have in this direction, and it makes a angle theta. So then one cos theta is down, no?
Yeah.
And one sine theta is this side.
Yeah.
So clearly one sine theta is in the I cap direction, I cap, and minus one cos theta is in the j cap direction.
Yeah.
So it will be sine theta I cap minus cos theta j cap, right?
Yeah.
Correct. And similarly your reflected ray can be, okay, reflected ray is very simple, it is going like this, but the difference is that cos theta is up and sine theta is this side, right?
Yeah.
So it will be sine theta I cap plus cos theta j cap, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so if from these two equations what you can guess is that, see, there is a difference between r minus I vector. What is the difference? 2 cos theta j cap, right?
Yeah.
So you can write r vector minus I vector is equal to 2 cos theta j cap, right? R vector is coming as I vector plus 2 cos theta j cap, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. Uh, Now j vector, n vector is what? N vector is clearly just j cap, no? Right. So so now equation for us becomes, I hope you have written down this and this. You have written this
Yeah.
down, and n vector is also j cap. So now I'll go to the next screen. So equation becomes clearly r vector, reflected ray vector, is equal to I vector plus 2 cos theta in the direction of the n vector, right? 2 cos theta was in j cap direction, no? Right?
Yeah.
J cap direction is the n direction, right? So I will just write down these vectors once more. I vector was for us sine theta I cap minus cos theta j cap, and j cap we can write as n vector, right?
Yeah.
And reflected ray vector was sine theta I cap, sine theta I cap plus cos theta n cap, right? So clearly if you do I cap dot n cap, dot product of these two vectors, right? So n cap is in the j direction, so I dot j will be 0. This I dot j, first term becomes 0 and the second term becomes minus cos theta, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So now you have here, this equation becomes r is equal to I cap plus 2 times I dot n is minus cos theta, so minus I dot n in the n cap direction.
Yeah.
So you have an equation r is equal to I minus 2 I dot n in the n direction, right?
Yeah.
So here this is the reflected ray, this is incident ray, n is the normal, right?
Yeah.
And this is a dot product of incident ray and normal, right?
Yeah.
This is your vector law in the form of a vector. This is a vector form of the reflection laws. Okay, so this will mean that equal angle of incidence and reflection. So the reason we have done this is because there can be questions like this. So I'll give you a question. The reason we have specified this is because sometimes you can be asked questions like this. A ray of light is incident on the YZ mirror, YZ plane mirror, along a unit vector, along a unit vector E1 is equal to 1 by root 3 I plus 1 by root 3 j plus 1 by root 3 k. Even unit vector is this. So now you are being asked, find the unit vector in the reflected, in the direction of the reflected ray. Of the reflected ray. So why we have done this is because sometimes your incident ray and all could be some 3D vector, right? It could be coming in 3 dimensions, right? In general, if it was some 2D case, we don't need to do so much vectors and all. We can just figure it out very easily, right? But if it was 3D case, sometimes it is confusing. So that's why we have written this vector law like this law. Okay. So we can try to figure out the diagram for this also. We can say that, okay, incident ray, what the plane mirror was in the YZ plane, right? YZ plane. Okay. So YZ plane would be, if you draw like this, okay, so y is this generally, x is this, and z is this. So plane mirror must be in this plane, right? Like this, right? Some YZ plane is like this, right? So incident ray is coming along a unit vector 1 by root 3 I. So unit vector is pointing in the positive x, positive y, and positive z direction, right? So if you think about it, it must be coming from behind this, right? And going ahead and pointing towards the first octant, right? Here quadrants are not sufficient, it's an octant, no? X, Y, Z is positive, right? All three X, Y, Z have to be positive. So it must be pointing up like this and coming towards the positive X also. So I can't even draw it properly. You understand? It's difficult to draw. Like it is going like this also and going in the positive X also. So something coming out of the plane like this, right? You understand? So now it is slightly hard to draw it and figure it out, right? So that is why the vector law is easy, right? You understand the point of why you have to do this. So before we can do this, so for the vector law, to find the reflected ray, the normal direction is supposed to be found, right? Normal rays direction you need to know, right? So if the plane mirror is in the YZ plane, then perpendicular to that is X direction, no?
It'll be I.
So normal will be just I cap, right? So now incident ray, the unit vector is only given to us, right? So we'll just put it in this formula and we'll say reflected ray would be R vector. Try to do the calculation now. It just simply becomes 1 by root 3 I cap plus 1 by root 3 j cap plus 1 by root 3 k cap minus 2 I dot n. So dot n will give only the I component, right? So it will be just 1 by root 3 and n cap is direction is I, right? So the reflected ray becomes minus 1 by root 3 I cap plus 1 by root 3 j cap plus 1 by root 3 k cap, right? So notice what has happened. Because the mirror was YZ plane and normal direction was I direction, right? Any ray coming towards the mirror gets reversed, right? So the Y and Z component don't change at all. See, Y and Z didn't change at all, and I has been reversed. So it is now going backward in the I direction, right? This is similar to the thing that happens in 2D. 2D, what happens? Like ray is coming like this, it reverses like this, no? So here the Y component was down and X component was forward, and here X component is forward and Y component is up, right? So Y component got reversed, no? And X component remained untouched, right? And similarly, in this case, it was a 3D situation. So y and z along the mirror that remain untouched, and x component got reversed, which is in the perpendicular direction to the mirror, right?
Yeah.
You understand why this is going to be useful?
Yeah.
This is going to be useful because in 3D situations, it's difficult to just predict by guessing what will happen, right? So
Yeah.
let's look at one more question. Question is, two plane mirrors are combined to each other's as to each other such that one is in the in yz plane while other is in the xz plane. These are the two plane mirrors. A ray of light is traveling along vector I. Incident vector is 1 by root 3 I plus 1 by root 3 j plus 1 by root 3 k. Okay, is incident on first mirror. Incident on first mirror.
Yeah.
Okay. Find the unit vector in the direction of emergent ray after successive reflection through these two mirrors. Okay. So after final emergent ray, you have to find final emergent ray after two reflections. Okay. Correct. So after the first reflection is on YZ plane. This is the same question as previous question.
Minus I by root 3 I.
After first reflection, reflected ray 1 becomes minus 1 by root 3 I plus 1 by root 3 J plus 1 by root 3 K. And now let's say this ray is incident on this mirror, right?
Okay.
Right. So this mirror, XZ plane mirror, what is the normal direction? J, right? Because XZ, so J is the Y direction. So final reflected ray should be incident ray. So this is minus 1 by root 3 I plus 1 by root 3 J plus 1 by root 3 K minus 2 times I dot N. I dot N is 1 by root 3 in the N direction J, right?
Yeah.
So that becomes what? Now it becomes minus 1 by root 3 I minus 1 by root 3 J and plus 1 by root 3 K, right? This is the final ray direction, right? Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. One last question on this before we move on. A ray of light is incident on a plane mirror. Question 3. Ray of light is incident on a plane mirror along a vector I plus j minus k. Along a vector I plus j minus k. Okay. The normal on incidence point is along I plus j. Normal is along I plus j. Find the direction of reflected ray. Find the unit vector in the direction of reflected ray. Reflected ray. Now here the question, the change thing is just that the vectors are not unit vectors, right?
Yeah.
Each of these this vector has length of root 3. This vector has length of root 2, right?
Yeah.
You know how, right? You know that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So your reflected ray will be your incident ray unit vector minus 2 times I dot n vector into n vector direction, right?
Yeah.
Correct. So
Yeah.
incident ray unit vector will be I plus j minus k by root 3, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Minus 2 times, you have to do I plus j minus k by root 3 dot product with normal vector direction I plus j by root 2.
Yeah.
This is the real normal vector unit vector, right? And
Yeah.
in the direction of the normal vector unit vector,
Yeah.
right? So this is the calculation that you have to do. So now here this becomes 1 by root 6 and plus 1 by root 6, right?
Yeah.
I will just multiply the i's and the j's separately, right? So it is 2 by root 6. So fine. And in the direction of I plus j by root 2, right?
Yeah.
So root 2 and 2 by root 6 and 4 by root of 12, right? Something like this is coming, right? I plus j, right? So
Yeah.
this becomes 2 root 3. So it becomes 2 by root 3, right? 2 by root 3. And here you have I plus j minus k by root 3, right? So final r vector becomes minus 2 by root 3. So minus I by root 3 minus j by root 3 and minus k by root 3,
Yeah.
right? So final vector is in this direction, minus 1 by root 3 I plus j plus k.
Yeah.
You understand? So you have to be careful here while using this to use only unit vectors for all of them, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we come to new stuff. So now we'll come to object and image. Like what do we understand by object and image in this in ray optics, for example? So what is an object?
It's the point of intersection of incident rays.
Point of intersection of
Incident rays.
correct. So you can say that all the incident rays are coming from are coming from or sometimes even going to an object, right?
Yeah.
So point of intersection of incident rays, right?
Yeah.
So you can have several cases. You can have objects like this. Object is sending out rays and there is a mirror, say, right?
Yeah.
This is incident rays are diverging from a point. This point is called object, right?
Yeah.
You could also have a case where there is a mirror and rays are coming like this, right?
Yeah.
And they will strike here. They will strike here, but you can produce it back a little and say that the object was somewhere here. This is a virtual object,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Why is this called an object? Because it is still incident rays are meeting, right? Incident rays are intersecting at this point. And here also incident rays were intersecting, right?
Yeah.
And you could also have a case where say parallel rays were coming on an optical device. Parallel rays were coming on an optical device. Here object is at infinity.
Yeah.
Because clearly they will not intersect at any finite point, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Now similarly the difference is for image you'll say same thing. You'll say it is the point of intersection of all the reflected slash refracted whatever happens afterwards, right?
Yeah.
Refracted rays, point of intersection of all the rays that are emerging out of the optical system, right?
Yeah.
So you could have a real image or a virtual image depending on whether they actually intersect or not, right? So uh, suppose the rays were after reflection, the rays were diverging like this, right? So you had some incident rays, and the rays were diverging, right? These were incident rays. Okay.
Yeah.
Some extended object is placed here. This is object, and the rays are diverging. So now you can produce back the diverging rays, and you'll get a virtual image here, right?
Yeah.
So point of intersection of all the reflected rays or refracted rays is called uh, a object image, and the reflected and refracted rays could actually meet. If they actually meet,
And it's a real image.
then it is a real image. Actually meet, it's a real image. And if they seem to meet at some point, not actually meet, right? It's a virtual image. Correct?
Yeah.
Image could also sometimes be at infinity. That is also possible, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now reflection of an image formation by a plane mirror is obvious, right? If there is a plane mirror, the image of an object, if you take a couple of rays, this is what is happening, and one more ray, this is what is happening. So you can produce it back and produce it back, and you'll find an image here, right? Image.
Yeah.
This is object, this is image. And now what you can say is that angle of reflection R is equal to I. So here also, which angles are going to be same? This is I and this is R, right?
Yeah.
Correct. And
Yeah.
you can prove that this triangle is congruent to this triangle because this becomes R, right? So this triangle is, this is R, and I is this one. So this is R. So this is 90 minus R, and here you have, because I is equal to R, so this is 90 minus I, so this is 90 minus, this is I, no, here. This right angle triangle is a triangle, and this is also a right angle triangle, and I is equal to R, therefore this, it's similar also, no? These two triangles are coming similar. Are you sure? This is I, uh, this is 90, this is 90, and this is R. This much you are convinced, no?
Yeah.
This is R and this is I and this is 90 degree, right? So
Yeah.
two angles are same.
Yeah.
The 90 degree angle and the I slash R angle, these two angles are same, no? If two angles are same, then all three angles are same for the two triangles.
Yeah.
So it is a similar triangle. Similar triangle in 10th standard you have done, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it's a similar triangle, and similar triangle has one common side here, this side.
Yeah.
One common side. So means ratio of the side is 1, no?
Yeah.
So basically if you do A1 by A2 is equal to B1 by B2 is equal to C1 by C2, where these are lengths of the sides. One of these ratios turns out to be 1, right? Because it's a common side. So that means all sides are equal then. Sure.
Yeah.
You understand that similar triangles, all the sides will be in the same ratio, right? Tell me if there is a problem.
Oh no, I got it.
Okay, so all sides are in the same ratio. So the triangle is now congruent by SSS congruency, right?
Yeah.
So triangles are congruent. So this distance is same as this distance, right? So that is what we want to say, that the perpendicular distance of object from the plane mirror will be same as the perpendicular distance of image from the plane mirror, right? Okay, correct. So now we will also have, so if the object is approaching at some speed, that the image will also be approaching at the same speed. Okay, so this speed of the object coming towards this will be same as the speed. Why? Because if you take some time t later, right, so let's say right now distance of object and image was d and d. So after some time object would have come ut ahead, right? So the distance between object and mirror would have been d minus ut. So if you ignored everything and just found the image of the object, if it was at a distance d minus ut, it should be at d minus ut here, right? By the plane mirror law of reflection, this image will be formed here, no? So that means the image was also coming in, image has also come up ahead by same distance ut, no? You understand? So the velocity of image is the same as velocity of object if you are looking at the direction which is perpendicular, which is along normal, which is along the normal. Like velocity is not the same, velocity is negative of it, right? Speed is the same, speed is the same, velocity is negative of each other in the direction along the normal. But suppose it was going, suppose this was going like this, right? Then image will also be going like this, right? Velocity in the direction parallel to the mirror, parallel to mirror, will remain unchanged. It will be the same thing here. Correct, because position has changed, the position of image will change, right? Okay, so now in case somebody gave you a question like this where body is here and is going like this, right? Theta, right? So u cos theta is like this and u sin theta is like this. So image will also have the same speed like this. It will be going at u sin theta like this and u cos theta like this. So that is all that you need to know about motion and all, and how images are formed for plane mirror reflection. Okay. Have they also discussed this field of view and all?
Yeah.
Okay. What have they told about field of view? What is this field of view thing?
Nothing much. They only mentioned what it is. They didn't go into detail.
They didn't go into details. Okay. So if they didn't go into details, we will also ignore it for now. I mean, I don't think field of view is an important question from the NEET perspective. So it might be useful for those who are preparing for JEE, but I don't think they will ask too much here. Let's do one case where mirrors are inclined at an angle to each other, right? Two mirrors are inclined at an angle to each other, and a light ray is coming, right? So find the number of images and all. Find the number of images formed, and okay. So this angle of inclination between them is theta, right?
Yeah.
Correct. So now object is placed. So this is our mirror 1 and mirror 2. This is mirror 1. This is mirror 2. Now object is placed somewhere at a point. Let's say it is placed at this point, right? Object is placed here. The point is such that it is making, so if you join this, right, this angle is let's say alpha, and this angle is, let's say, phi, right? You have one relation that alpha plus phi is equal to theta, right?
Yeah.
Now, okay. Now what will happen is, how many images will be formed? So, I1 and I2. So what is, okay. So clearly for the object, this is phi. So image in this will be formed here, no?
Yeah.
This is I1, right? An image in this will be formed somewhere here, which
Yeah.
is I2, right? Correct.
Yeah.
Now, this image, this is a congruent triangle setup, no? This and this, right?
Yeah.
So this angle is also phi,
Yeah.
and this angle is also alpha, because this is a congruent triangle situation, right? This and this,
Yeah.
right? Now I1 will act as the image for M2, right?
Yeah.
And I2 will act as an image for M1 mirror, right?
Yeah.
So now notice that the angle, this angle, so I1, when it acts on an image, image will be formed quite far away, no, this side. So you'll draw up a perpendicular and extend that perpendicular to this side, right?
Yeah.
Right, and that will be your final image, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Correct. And
Yeah.
the whole angle matters, no, this whole angle matters, this triangle, right angle triangle, this one, theta plus phi plus alpha, right? So it is alpha plus 2 phi, this angle, right?
Yeah.
So this angle will be alpha plus 2 phi.
Yeah.
Similarly, I2 will act as an image, I2 will act as an object for this. So if you drop a perpendicular like this, there will be another point here somewhere down, right? And that will be phi plus 2 alpha. This angle will be
Yeah.
phi plus 2 alpha, right?
Yeah.
Correct. You understand what is happening?
Hmm.
So let's construct like a table. I will draw the figure here like this, and this is M1 and this is M2, and this is your object, and this angle is, let's say, this angle was alpha and this angle is phi, and images will be formed here, here, then here somewhere, and then here somewhere, right? And so on, right? Many images could be formed, right? Now, what I will draw is like a table where image formed by mirror 1. It will be uh, at an angle, image formed by mirror 1, okay, will be at mirror 1 and mirror 2. This is image formed by mirror 2, mirror 2. So uh, first image is here, right? This angle is phi, right?
Yeah.
And second image from mirror 1 is like this. Second image is coming here. Second image is whose image? It is the image of this one, right? And this image would have been at angle alpha, right? This image is the second image in mirror 1, right? So uh, the angle that this makes this angle is equal to uh, 2 alpha plus phi, na? 2 alpha plus phi, right? So 2 alpha plus phi is the same as alpha plus phi is equal to theta. So theta plus alpha, right? correct? Theta plus alpha. Then first image is making what angle? First image is making angle phi. Then it is theta plus alpha. Then it is going to be even bigger. Alpha plus 2 phi. Okay. I mean, it is a little confusing because I'm trying to keep track of the images by the angles that they formed, right? So now the next image will be due to image of, okay, let's label it. This is I1 and this is I2 and this is I2 dash and this is I1 dash, right? Now it will be, the next image will be due to this one, right? Correct.
Yeah.
So okay, you can make the angles and all, you can think about each angle and try to figure out how many, but I don't think, again, this, have they discussed this in class, the angles formed by the images? You have just given you the formula 360 by theta, right? Minus 1 number of images that will be formed.
Yeah.
So what comes out is finally you will keep getting larger and larger angles, right?
Yeah.
Like you are noticing that you will keep getting bigger and bigger angles here, right? So the number of images will be formed. Images formed will be till you'll keep counting all of these till it is less than 180. It cannot be more than 180, right? 180 degree is the maximum angle allowed, no, here. Image could be, I mean, angle cannot be more than 180. Image cannot be formed on that side, right?
No.
So you keep counting this and seeing till where the angle goes up till 180, right? That is the number of images formed by this, right? So you are going to basically count the number of images formed by mirror 1 and number of images formed by mirror 2 and add them. Okay. Yeah. So if we had started off with some numbers, it would have been easier for us to guess how many. So if it was some 30 and 60 and all, we could easily said that this is 60, first image is here, then second image is there, and so on. Keep counting till the angle increases. See, it is increasing, no, each angle, each time.
Yeah.
So they will keep increasing until it is less than 180. Till there, that point you have to go. Okay. But there is a standard formula for this. The formula has been derived, that is, if the angle between the two mirrors is theta, then number of images that are formed will be 360 by theta uh, 360 by theta if 360 by theta if it is an even number. So I'll just write it, in case object is on an angle bisector. Angle bisector, by that I mean it's at the midpoint of the two mirrors, like this. Object is in the bisector line, right? Then an angle theta between the mirrors, theta is the angle between the mirrors, and 360 by theta turns out to be even. If it is even, then number of images is n is equal to 360 by theta minus 1, and correct, because the last two images will be common. So if it is on the angle bisector, the last two images will be the same image, so you have to subtract 1. And if it is not even, I think it is just 360 by theta. If the number of images will be just 360 by theta if the angle that comes out is not even. The number that comes out from this division is not even. So anyway, what we will encounter is mostly some simple question where you will have some angles given, right? So in case it is not an angle bisector, you will actually have to sit and count it. Okay. If it is on angle bisector, then you can do this and check if it is even or not. If it is even, then you have to subtract 1. If it is not even, it is just 360 by theta. Okay. So, and so this is only for the case when it is on the angle bisector. If it is not on angle bisector, if it is somewhere here, this is 30 and this is 45, then you'll actually have to count it. So this will come at 45, this is 45, 1 will come here, then image of this in this will come at 75 degree here, right? An image of this 75 degree in this will come at this 75 plus 75, 150 degree here, right? 150 degree here, right? You understand? You keep making these images till you reach that place where it is bigger than 180 degree. So maybe 3 images on this side and 2, 3 here on this side. So you'll have to draw a figure and keep counting. Okay. If it is on an angle bisector, you can use this formula. Okay. Anyway, I don't think this will be a major question for you, so don't worry about it too much. What you have to understand is the basic principles of like image formation from a plane mirror, and if image is moving, object is moving, what happens, and all of that should be clear. Plane mirror image formation. So now we will move to, if like one more result is there that is generally proven in all books, that is, if you twist the mirror by some angle, the reflected ray will turn by twice that angle. That you understand, no? So if you have a ray like this which is going like this is R, this is I, this is incident ray, and now the mirror is turned by some angle, right? Mirror has been turned by an angle which is equal to theta. Earlier mirror was like this angle is theta, right? So clearly if you turn the mirror a little, what angle has changed? The normal angle has changed, no? Normal has also turned like this, right? Correct. So normal is no longer like this, it is like this. So angle between this and this has become I plus theta, no?
Yeah.
So reflected ray will also go I plus theta this side from the new normal, right? The new normal is like this, and angle is like this, and old normal was like this. Old reflected ray was making I angle with the old normal, right? Old reflected ray. But now normal has also turned by theta, and reflected ray has also turned by theta, right? This angle is also I plus theta. So totally the reflected ray final has turned by 2 theta extra, no? So if you turn the mirror by theta, the reflected ray will deviate by 2 theta. So you can convince yourself of that by just drawing a few figures, right? Correct. You are sure you understand that part, no? You are clear on that?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we'll come to this spherical mirrors. Okay. So plane mirrors are fine. Spherical mirrors are the stuff that we have to be more careful about, right? So, one second. Spherical mirrors. So today we'll do just reflection, and we will cover spherical mirrors. So we'll cover concave and convex mirrors, spherical mirrors. Okay. So next class we'll start refraction. Okay. So concave mirror is something like this, and convex mirror is something like this. And ray of light will come from this side, and polished surface, this surface is polished, that means the other surface is reflecting. Okay. Polished surface on one side means the other surface is the reflecting side. Okay. Just give me 5 minutes. I'll take a break and come back. Okay. 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll continue back in a bit. Okay, so we'll start this. Are you there?
Yeah.
So, concave and convex mirrors. So, first of all, what you need to understand is what is a spherical mirror. That is just a part of a bigger sphere. Okay,
Yeah.
so you have taken it as a section out of a bigger sphere. So, it has a radius.
Yeah.
It has a radius r. This is the radius of curvature, and here also there will be a radius. So, this radius is this side, right?
Yeah.
So the thing to understand here is first the sign convention. Sign convention. Uh, the sign convention is pretty simple. If you have some mirror like this, you will put a x and y axis like this, right? At the pole of the mirror. What is the pole of the mirror? Pole is this point. Pole.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is the pole here. So
Right.
pole is the actual midpoint of the spherical portion. The mirror that you took out, the section of the sphere that you took out, the actual midpoint is called pole.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so now if you put your origin at the pole, then your y-axis is like this, x-axis is like this, right? Now
Yeah.
all distances will be measured according to the normal rules of x and y axis quadrants, right? So this distance will be positive x and this distance will be positive y, right? So
Yeah.
in case of this type of mirror where the radius is pointing in the negative direction, right?
Hmm.
Radius vector is in this direction, then this side, all distances on this side are negative, right?
Yeah.
So your r becomes negative, r is negative, and your object, because object will be placed on this side, no, because mirror is like this, right? So
Yeah.
polished surface is on the other side, so object has to be this side. So object distance, which is called u, object distance, that is also negative.
Yeah.
That is also negative. Image distance, image could be on both the sides. We'll see cases where image is mostly on this side, but sometimes also on this side, right? So image
Yeah.
could be positive or negative.
Yeah.
Negative, right? In
Yeah.
the case of a convex mirror where it's like this, notice that the radius is, you put your x and y axis like this, y and x, so radius is pointing in this direction, right? So radius of curvature becomes positive. Image object will be in this direction, so object distance is again negative, and image could be whatever.
Yeah.
Image could be negative or positive. Most cases it will be this side, image will be this side, because reflection will come like this and it will go like this, so you will produce it back here, right? So mostly image will be positive here, right?
Yeah.
So that is the general sign convention. Like the way you figure it out is just put a y and x axis at the pole, and
Hmm.
all distances on one side, on the positive side will be taken plus and negative side will be taken minus. Now if the object is like this, it's an extended body, right? Then this point is at a positive y, right?
Yeah.
The top of the object is at a positive y direction. Now for an extended body, the way you handle it is you think of the extended body as collection of points, right? So
Yeah.
so suppose you have something like this, and you have a mirror like this. Oh, one second. You have an axis like this, and this is the pole, and you have a body like this, right?
Yeah.
So this body can be thought of as so many points, right? So many points are there, and each point will have its own position of the image, right?
Yeah.
So each point will have its own position of the image. You will probably draw, maybe the image is somewhere here, right?
Yeah.
It is not going to be here, it is going to be somewhere else. So you will draw an image like this, line ray like this, maybe it passes like this, you will draw something like this and you get an image like this.
Yeah.
So now what you will notice is that the image, the real image that is formed, the real image that is formed is looking to be inverted, right? Is
Yeah.
appearing to be inverted, right? So
Yeah.
so your height of the image has gone from, height of the object was in the positive y direction, but height of the image is in the negative y direction, right? Because your x and y axis was like this.
Yeah.
So this is called an inverted image. So your magnification will be negative in this case. Magnification is minus v by u, right?
Yeah.
So let's discuss first all the terms, and then we'll come to how to draw the ray diagram and the figures and all, right? So pole. Pole is what? Pole is the center of the physical spherical mirror.
Yeah.
Center of the physical spherical mirror. Then you come to center of curvature. Center of curvature is that point center. Center of the bigger sphere of which the mirror was a part of, right? So if you extend it, somewhere here will be center of curvature. Center of the sphere. Then radius of curvature is obvious, is the radius of that sphere. Principal axis. What is the principal axis?
It's the line that connects the center of curvature and the pole.
Center of curvature and pole. The line joining them. Line joining them. Okay. And focal point. Focal point of the mirror. Focus. Focus is if you have a mirror like this. If you have a mirror like this, and if you take, this is my center of curvature, this is my pole. If you take parallel rays which are coming, right?
Yeah.
Parallel rays which are coming. Now, because it is a part of a sphere, the normal line is this, right?
Yeah.
This is the normal line, because you know that if you have a circle center to a point, this is tangent, this angle is 90, right?
Yeah.
Right. So the line joining the center to a point on the surface will be 90 degree to the tangent direction, right? So my tangential direction is this. So this is normal. So this angle is the angle of incidence, right?
Yeah.
So it will, when it reflects back, it will make a similar angle with the angle of incidence.
Yeah.
This angle I. Similarly, take another parallel ray, it will also come like this.
Yeah.
Right? Because the normal line will be this line. This will be your eye and this will be your eye, right? So you will find that all the parallel rays which are parallel to principal axis, right?
Yeah.
Incident rays parallel to principal axis will reflect back and meet at a point, back and intersect at a point on principal axis, intersect at a point on principal axis, and that point, you have a point image that is formed there, right? Because all the reflected rays are meeting there.
Yeah.
All the reflected rays are meeting there, so that is a image point. Point image is formed. That point is called focus.
Yeah.
That point is called focus. So it turns out that for spherical mirrors, simple spherical mirrors, the focus to the pole, the distance is called focal length.
R/2.
Correct. So focal length is equal to r/2, which r is the radius of curvature. This can be proved by simple geometrical arguments. We will not do the proof right now. You can look at NCERT. The proof is there. It's just by similar triangles and all you'll get the proof. Okay. F is equal to r/2 comes. Now we come to a couple of standard rays. So we'll understand a few standard rays and how they reflect from a spherical mirror, and that will help us construct an image in any situation. So suppose just now we saw one standard ray. If it is parallel to principal axis, any ray, it will pass through the focus, right? After reflection. This is one standard ray. So this is pole, this is focus, this is center of curvature. if an incident ray is parallel to the principal axis, then after reflection, it will pass through the focus.
Yeah.
This is one standard ray that you will use. Then the second one is if an incident ray is coming through the center of curvature. Okay, my diagram is wrong. Suppose it comes like this through the center of curvature, right? Incident ray is coming through the center of curvature. When it will return on the same path.
Yeah.
Why? Because the center of curvature is a normal line to the point on the sphere.
Yeah.
So angle of incidence ray with the normal is 0 degree in this case. So angle of the reflected ray with the normal will also be 0 degree, right? So incident ray and reflected ray are on the same line. This is the second point, second type of ray that will help you construct images. Okay. Then the third type of ray can be this one, where you take, this is principal axis, this is center of curvature. If you have a ray that just meets you at the pole directly, it hits the pole, right? Then this angle is theta, then it will come back like this. This angle is theta, because obviously this line is the normal, right? So this theta and theta, this is a reflection. So you have three types of standard ray, and one ray is parallel to principal axis, one ray passes through principal axis, and one ray directly hits the pole, right?
Yeah.
And you know how all of the rays will get reflected. So now what we will do is we'll use these three types of rays, use these rays to construct images,
Okay.
So this has been done before for you also in 10th grade, I think, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a concave mirror, right, then this is C, this is F, this is pole, and you have an image with object which is like this here, right? You can take one ray like this parallel, it will come out like this, and you can take one ray passing through this, and it will come back like this, right? So both these rays, the reflected rays, are meeting at this point, right? So image comes here, right? Image is coming inverted and it is between C and F, right? So you have actually 6 cases that come, right? And object, object, and image. So if you have beyond,
the first case is when the object is at
infinity, object is at infinity, we'll do that. So first let's write beyond C, then it will be between C and F, C and F between, right?
There's also one where it is at C.
So at C,
then it's between C and F.
No, at C the image will be at C.
Yeah.
Beyond
then
C, beyond C it will be between C and F. At C it will be at C. Between C and F.
Yeah, no, I meant when the object is between C and F is the next case.
Beyond C and F. Beyond C. Image will be beyond C, right? Then at F, image will be at infinity. Between F and P, between F and P, image will be virtual, and beyond P on the other side. On the other side. And one case that we should have started out with was at infinity, object will be at focus. Image will be at focus, right? So these are the cases, and this is fairly simple stuff. What we get is we can also derive a relation 1 by V plus 1 by U is equal to 1 by F, right? So this relation tells you where object and image will be, and this relation you always have to use the correct sign for every term here. Use the correct sign. So in a concave mirror, U will always be negative and F will also be negative, right? Concave mirror, U, F are negative because they are on the left hand side of the, this is the Y and X, and everything is this side. Object is this side, focal length is this side, right? In a convex mirror, U is negative, but U is negative, F is positive, right? Correct. So you get this relation. Now you can also get the magnification, which is magnification or the size. What is the change in size that is happening? Is equal to image size by object size. Image size by object size, and it turns out to be minus V by U, right? So if V and U have the same sign, so both of them are on the same side, then it will be an inverted image that will be formed, right? Correct. If magnification is less than 0, image is inverted. If magnification is greater than 0, image is erect, right? And if magnification, the modulus, is greater than 1, then it is enlarged. If modulus is less than 1, it is diminished. Right? So all these cases will come out on the basis of your V and U. So first you have to solve the mirror equation to find the V and U, right? Once you find your V and U, then you will take the magnification, right? Correct. And magnification is related to image size by object size. So sometimes they can even tell you the magnification and ask you the image size. So that can be done. Correct. Okay. Okay. So this is concave mirror and convex mirror. A convex mirror, generally images are formed like this. If you have a convex mirror, in this case, object is somewhere here. Let's say this is focal length.
Has like 2 cases.
Hmm?
Convex mirror will like only 2 or 3 cases.
2 cases. So one is infinite and one is any other finite point, right? So in this case, you can have one ray that seems to pass through the center of curvature. Seems to pass because actually it will hit here and reflect, right? And one ray that seems to pass through the focus. So seems to pass. So when it reflects back, it will reflect back parallel, right? This will happen, right? So its backward projection is this. So this is the image that has been formed, right? So all the reflected rays seem to meet at a point, and the image is diminished, virtual, and erect, right? This is the nature of the image. The other case is when the object is very far infinity, so parallel rays are coming. Parallel rays are coming, so they'll seem to diverge, right? Seem to diverge, and they will seem to meet at the point called the focus. This will be a point image at the focus, right? This is the other case for convex mirror, right? So this is fairly straightforward. There's mirror image formation and all. Sign convention is also clear. So mirror formula we have done. So minus V by U, V by U and all. Okay. So what happens if you have a object which is extended in this direction? Object like this, right? O1, O2. This is the object, right? So it has some width and it is like that, right? So then you will have an image also that will be formed. Image that will be formed, but the point here is that the image will be somewhere. Suppose this is C. Image will be somewhere in between C and F, because object is, so object can be thought of as a collection of points, right? So each point you can take and find its corresponding image, right? right? And if the object, all the points were beyond C, then the object image will be between C and F, right? But the size will be different, okay? Size will be different. Image will be formed somewhere here, size will be different. So now what we want to understand is what will be the magnification or the length of the image, right? So
Yeah.
you can say this is called a longitudinal magnification. Longitudinal, not the regular kind of magnification when your objects were like this, right? So will be equal to width of image by width of object. Width of image by width of object. So how will we figure this out? How will we figure this out? So let's do it. Let's say object is located at a distance x from the concave mirror of focal length f. Okay, so okay, wait, I'll draw a different figure. Let's say we have a mirror like this. This is the principal axis, okay, and this is the focus, this is the center, and let's say object was here, a to b, a to b, it was lying on the principal axis like this, okay. So the distance of b to this point was x, okay, and let's say the thickness here was dx, the length, the width of this was dx, let's say, okay. So we can say that image will be formed here, image will be formed somewhere here, a dash to b dash. Now why have I drawn a dash b dash like this? Because the b point was closer to the focus, no?
Yeah.
B point was closer to the focus, then the image of B will be farther away from the thing.
Yeah.
Because when you come close to the focus, the image goes close to infinity, no?
Yeah.
So if your point B was closer to the focus, the B dash will be farther away, okay? And A point was farther from the focus, so A will be closer to C, right? A dash will be closer to C, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to find out our y distance, this distance, okay, this is y,
Okay.
and we also have to find out this dy thickness, okay.
Yeah.
So if the AB had thickness of dx, we have to find our dy, right?
Okay.
Which is the image thickness. This is image thickness, and this was object thickness dx.
Yeah.
So okay, so now first we will just do for the point B and B and B dash, right? So so we'll say 1 by f is equal to 1 by x plus 1 by y, right? So this is negative, everything is negative, the signs have cancelled, okay. So 1 by v plus 1 by u is equal to 1 by y, no?
Yeah.
1 by v plus 1 by u is equal to 1 by f. So u is minus x, v is minus y, and f is minus f, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Here, notice that these thicknesses are assumed to be small. That's why I'm not doing it exactly. The exact expression would be something like this: 1 by x minus x plus 1 by b has gone to y plus dy, no?
Yeah.
Right, is equal to 1 by minus f, something like this. So you get equation like this,
Yeah.
right? But I'm going to say that a and b have the thickness is taken as dx and dy for this reason only, that it is a small thickness, so we can ignore y plus dy and we can call it just y.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so for a small thickness, that means their points are close to each other. If we figure out the relation between dy and dx, then we'll be able to say for a big body also what will happen, right?
Yeah.
So now here, if you differentiate this expression, right, with respect to x and y, right? So if you differentiate this expression, this is constant. So differentiation is 0. This becomes minus 1 by x square into dx plus minus 1 by y square into dy, right?
Yeah.
Correct. So your differentiation gives you this result. Dx by x square is equal to minus dy by y square, right? So clearly dy by dx is equal to minus y square by x square, right? Now y was object distance, no? Or image distance. This is v, something like v, and this is something like u, right? So this is looking like minus v square by u square, no?
Yeah.
So minus v by u was m, no? So this is looking like minus m square, right?
Yeah.
Correct. M would have been the regular type of v by u, no? M is minus v by u. So m square is v square by u square, right?
Yeah.
So what you get is dy by dx is equal to minus m square, right?
Yeah.
So that means the longitudinal magnification, m longitudinal, is equal to minus m square, which is the transverse magnification, right?
Okay.
The normal magnification that you have so far seen, longitudinal magnification will be square of that and a negative sign.
Yeah.
Okay. So that this dy by dx gives you a sense of the thickness of this versus the thickness of this, no, image by object, right?
Yeah.
So this is in some form the magnification of the, if the object is placed like this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Then this was only derived for the small width object, right? This was derived for objects which had tiny width, right?
Yeah.
Tiny width dx and dy. In general, if it is a longer body, right? If it has substantial width, right? Then you cannot follow this method, right? Because the equation only is wrong, right?
Yeah.
Equation should be correctly, the equation was this, no?
Yeah.
So if it has extended width, then this will not work. So then in that case, what you should do is just do, so for example, suppose you have a mirror like this and situation like this, C, F, and this distance, suppose A, B, and you have gotten your A dash here and B dash here, right? Correct.
Yeah.
This is substantial length, not dx and all, right? So then to find longitudinal magnification, just take 2 points. Let's take 1 point here at A and find its image A dash, and 1 point here at B and find its image B dash, right? This is U1, this is U2, this is V2, this is V1, right?
Yeah.
So do the calculations like this. 1 by minus U1 plus 1 by minus V2 is equal to 1 by minus F, and then V1, and 1 by minus U2 minus 1 by V2 is equal to 1 by minus F, right?
Yeah.
These two equations will give you V2 and V1, right?
Yeah.
Right? So what is the final length of the object? V2 minus V1. And initial length was what? U2 minus U1, right? So magnification longitudinal will be just V2 minus V1 by U2 minus U1, right?
Yeah.
So in this case, if it was an extended object, you will just take the actual length and take the actual object length, right?
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
So you don't have to do dy by dx in this case, right? Dy by dx will not be, this will not be same as minus m square, which we got earlier, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the magnification in different cases. Now, there are some more cases, but right now we'll not cover those. Right now we'll just go ahead with this. We'll end the class right now. We will continue with 1 or 2 examples of spherical mirrors in the next class. We'll do some questions of spherical mirrors. Start off with that. And then what we will do is we'll go to refraction. The next class will be continuing spherical mirrors, and starting at least refraction. Once we start refraction, then we'll look at refractive index, we'll look at lenses, basic lens equations, right? And then next Thursday, I think we'll come to lens maker formula and all of that. Okay. Okay. So for now, this is it. And keep solving questions. Look at your Allen book and maybe try some questions from there. And these sections that we discussed today, just try questions from there. And if you have problems and all, we'll discuss it in the next class. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Bye.